Hi guys, and welcome back to another VGC 2019 Moon Series How to Play guide. I hope you've been enjoying these guides. We've had a little break from the guides recently, but we're back with them today, and hopefully an exciting one to kick us off on this great Monday. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. It is a non-restricted Pokemon. We've already covered at least one other non-restricted Pokemon. We'll be doing a lot more of them as we go forward in this guide, but if you've missed any of the other Pokemon Moon Series guides that we've done, just hop back over here. I'll put a card in for you gorgeous people out there, and you can go back, check them out, just get a bit of an idea with how we're kind of going into this format, learning how these Pokemon are going to be used, and just hopefully to give you a little bit of inspiration going forward. These guides are kind of an introductory level, but they do have some advanced and kind of intermediate levels to them as well, so it's kind of trying to cater to every level of Pokemon trainer to help the newer ones out and also have some benefit for you more established players as well. But as I say, today is a non-restricted Pokemon that we're going to cover. It is going to be the Pokemon Tsareena. A lot of players' favourites out there, so hopefully you enjoy it. But before we get into anything, I will just throw it out. If you do enjoy the content, please remember to leave a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss any of these guides that we've got coming out and any of our daily content that we have coming out with the VGC battle series and things like that. And also please leave your comments in the comment section below, because you know more than anything, I do say this a lot, but I love hearing from you guys and love responding to you. It might not be immediately, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. But please, yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this guide and going forward. But without further ado, let's hop into this guide today. So hopefully you enjoy it, guys, and I'll see you on the other side. So kicking off today with a Pokemon overview, we are looking at Tsareena. Tsareena is just a pure grass type, no secondary typing, just grass. It has the ability Queenly Majesty. Now this might be familiar to a lot of you, because if you know Tapu Lele and its psychic terrain, it prevents priority attacks of anything grounded on the field. Queenly Majesty acts a lot like that, but it not only affects Pokemon that are grounded, it also affects Pokemon that are flying or have the ability Levitate. So in a way, it's a lot better. As long as Tsareena is out on the field, Queenly Majesty is active, and those priority attacks cannot affect anything on Tsareena's side of the field. So if you've got a Kyogre sitting next to Tsareena, your opponent cannot fake it out, it cannot sucker punch it, it cannot do anything that is a base priority attack. So it means Scarf Kyogre can become so ridiculously strong. You're going to see common attacks on Tsareena, things like Power Whip. It's a very strong base 120 grass type attack. You've got Trop Kick as another option. It's a little less weak, but it has that nice secondary typing behind it that lowers the attack stat on any Pokemon that it makes contact with. You've got High Jump Kick, which is a fighting type stab, which is very nice to have on Tsareena for coverage. You've got Feint as well, breaking protects and really disrupting your opponent's ability to kind of maneuver their board position and gain an advantage in battle. And then you've got other options like Helping Hand, Knockoff, that you're going to see commonly used on Tsareena. Tsareena has a base stat total of 510. It is an unrestricted Pokemon, so it's not as powerful as those restricted Pokemon that we do have access to in this format. And you can see its distribution here of 72 HP, 120 attack, 98 defense, 50 special attack, 98 special defense, and 72 speed. So overall, not too shabby at all. Got decent defensive capabilities with those near 100 defense stats, and not a bad base HP of 72. But you can see the one stat that stands out above anything else, and that is its attack stat. It can hit like a truck if it wants to, and you can't underestimate Tsareena for the ability to do that. Its base speed isn't too bad. It can perform a slightly faster roll, and it can perform a really nice roll under Trick Room. But how Tsareena is played, you're not really too concerned with that speed stat. It does come into question sometimes with how you maybe want to run it with certain Pokemon, but for the majority of the time, that's kind of the stat that's mostly forgot about with Tsareena. We're looking at type strengths and weaknesses. As it is a grass type, it does have weaknesses, unfortunately, to flying, poison, bug, fire, and ice. Flying and poison, quite common types in this format, as well as the fire. Ice not so much as the others, but still something you need to be very aware of because of its grass type, and it doesn't have any immunities, but it does have some incredible resistances. It's got the resistance to ground, water, grass, and electric, and then hit normally by everything else. So this is a basic overview of Tsareena, and the next step we're going to do is take a look at some sample sets. So the first sample set that we're going to start and look at today is the Phytinium Z set, which is a very interesting set. So again, we've got the Queenly Majesty ability. It does have access to other abilities, but I think for how you want Tsareena to operate, it gives so much benefit to the partnering Pokemon that it's next to. Why not use it? You do not want to be picked off by fake outs, you do want to be picked off by feints, by sucker punches. Just having on the field really gives your partnering Pokemon that really instant and automatic support. You're going to see common partners with this sort of Tsareena. Tapu Koko, we've already mentioned Kyogre, normally Scarfed. It's a good indicator that if you see it on an opposing team and these two are paired, the Kyogre most of the time is going to be Scarfed. And then Amoonguss is another option because you see these two paired together in some Kyogre teams where you've got maybe Xerneas tagged in there, and the Amoonguss is there for a Trick Room element and also a redirection element there. And Double Grass in a lot of teams in this restricted format aren't uncommon for players to fall back on. So the item choice we went for this set is the Phytinium Z. As I say, it runs off that high jump kick. You're probably going to see other options on this set like Feint, like Helping Hand, Power Whip, Drop Kick, Knockoff, those sort of things. Protect's also a nice option because you've got it on Tsareena here. You're not playing the Assault Vest, so you're not tied by that option. We've went for an Adamant Nature. Effort values, EVs, we've went for a distribution of 236 HP, 204 attack and 68 defense, and you can see some attacking calculation options here. We've not got too much defensive capability here in this Tsareena, but you can see that with the distribution that we've got here, you are 100% of the time able to take a 252 Adamant Groudon Fire Punch with this Tsareena in the sun, which is pretty incredible, pretty big boasting. You know, if you're Tsareena, it's a big attack to take, and knowing that you can take it if you can't get your rain up and Tsareena can still perform a role in that turn is going to be sometimes quite key. Now we can see that Z move here. You can see the 204 attack adamant based Tsareena all out pummeling, which is that Z move, which is 195 base power, which is crazy coming off that high jump kick, versus a 252 no defense Ferrothorn has an 87.5% chance to knock out, which is pretty good. You've sacrificed some of that attack power for defensive capabilities, so you could take that out if you wanted to. If you're never really relying on that defensive investment there and you really want the extra attack, this is something you can do. Take it all out, put a 252 into attack, and you'll get that Ferrothorn calc the whole time. The reason why I have changed it is because some of the more prominent Pokemon in this format, like Incineroar, you're never going to be picking up the one-hit kill on it regardless because of that Intimidate, and because it's quite strong. Stack Attack is another one because you haven't got that same type attack bonus with the high jump kick with the Phytinium Z, that you're not really able to pick up the knockouts. So one thing that you can pick a knock upon is Ferrothorn, another's Dialga, but you have to go max, and then you're not really getting any other calculations other than what you would get with maybe 252 health, which is enough, but sometimes you want just a little bit extra, and because the Groudon calc was so close and Precipice Blades, it's resisted, so most likely Groudon is always going to throw out a Fire Punch if it's in that position onto Tsareena to pick up the knockout. I think it's quite useful in some of these situations, but these are just examples for you guys to take away and utilize. Going to have common checks. We've already mentioned the Groudon, the Incineroar, their fire type attacks, and then you've got Yveltal as well, another very prominent Pokemon in this format, especially with that Assault Vest and Oblivion Wing that can hit Tsareena for very good damage. So that's the Phytinium Z set. Let's move on to the next sample set, which is a favourite set of mine, which is the Assault Vest. So again, you're going to see attacking options, Power Whip, Drop Kick, High Jump Kick, Feint, Knockoff. You're not going to have access to Helping Hand, unfortunately, on this set because it is a status move and you can't use status moves with the Assault Vest, so you can't use that. We went for a Careful Nature here. EV spread of 220 HP, 28 attack, 68 defense, 188 special defense and 4 speed. So quite a wide variation here. You're going to see common partnering Pokemon to this Tsareena. Again, you're going to see Kyogre on probably most Tsareena sets, but in this instance we're going to give you a few other examples like Stack Attacker, Xerneas and Lunala are a few just to boast because they all appreciate that priority protection that Tsareena can give in the ground. resistance that Tsareena gives is very nice for that, especially stack attacker that is there. You're going to see common checks, things like Volcarona, Landorus Therian, because of its Intimidate, of course, and the U-turn that it predominantly carries. It's going to affect Tsareena quite heavily, and then Toxicroak as well. It's always going to be one of those Pokemon that's brought to counteract Kyogre especially. So Tsareena really will struggle to do a lot of damage to it, and it is threatened quite heavily from those poison jabs and other attacks that it can throw out. So you've got to be quite wary about that when you can't really damage it too much yourself. Attacking calculation, just for your knowledge for this Tsareena, we haven't got very much investment here in it, and not plus attack nature, but a 28 attack Tsareena power whip versus a 4 HP standard Kyogre is a guaranteed one hit kill, which is pretty huge, which is pretty nice, being able to just know that you can always pick up the knockout on most Kyogres without an Intimidate on there. And a defensive calc, you can see a 252 special attack Tornadus Hurricane. So timid Tornadus Hurricane versus this particular Tsareena has 54 to 65% damage output. Now this is key, because one of the common partners that you're going to see a lot with Tornadus is Kyogre. This particular spread allows you to always guaranteed take a Choice Scarfed, Modest, Kyogre, full power in-rain Water Spout plus the Hurricane. So it allows Tsareena to take that combination of attacks, and that's why I've highlighted this Hurricane here. No point in highlighting the Kyogre Water Spout, we all know we're going to be able to take that. It's the Hurricane and the Water Spout, guaranteed from both targets, from the timid Tornadus, from the modest Kyogre. You can take those attacks guaranteed, and I've been caught out by this in tournaments in the past, and I think it makes the utility of the Assault Vest extremely useful. So that is the Assault Vest set. Nice set. It's probably one of my favourite Tsareena sets, and we'll move on to our next sample set, which is going to be the Figgy Berry set. So it's a 50% berry set here. You can have the Figgy Berry or Guava Berry, Ayapapa Berry, whatever berry tickles your fancy here. But again, now you've got access to that Helping Hand, now you've got access to Protect, but you're still going to see the common options here of Knockoff, Feint, High Jump Kick, Power Whip, Trop Kick. It all depends what really your team needs coverage wise from Tsareena with what you play. The Knockoff is extremely beneficial. It just gives you another way to hit those pesky ghost types that are going around the format, and if you don't have Knockoff on something like Incineroar, then it's always a nice option that you can put on Tsareena if you still want to get and remove items from your opposing Pokemon's team. We've went for an Adamant Nature here with this Tsareena. Effort value here of 236 HP, 36 attack, 4 defense, 236 special defense, and 12 speed. So to give you an idea of what this EV spread does, this allows you again to take that 252 special attack Tornadus Hurricane 100% of the time, pretty much. It's got a 6.3% chance to knock out. So one way you can get around the Kyogre Water Spout and then take the Hurricane, if that's what your opponent's going for, is have something with Wide Guard potentially next to Tsareena to allow you to get an attack off, possibly that Power Whip onto the Kyogre. It's just an option, but it's a nice calc to take. Also, defensive calculation that you can take with this Tsareena is a +1 Moonblast from a Xerneas. So that's why I've partnered Yveltal here. If you can get a Snarl off onto that Xerneas, make sure it's not +2 and just +1. You can guarantee with this Tsareena as well that you'll be able to take that +1 Moonblast, which is pretty huge because you'll take it, proc the berry, and then you'll be back up to 50% health. Some common checks that we're going to see for Tsareena, just tagging in here, other things that you need to be aware of when playing Tsareena. Going to be more of those poison types like Gengar and Venusaur that can cause Tsareena a lot of problems, and you're going to have very little options to hit them back for good damage, especially if you're not carrying knockoff for something like the Gengar. Ho-Oh as a restricted Pokemon is going to cause you endless problems, especially if you aren't managing the field well with your own Kyogre or Rock type user to protect that Tsareena from these sort of threats. We've got an attacking calculation example here. You can see that with hardly any investment, you're 36 plus nature. We've got a Power Whip, and it does between 64 and 78% to a 252 health, 4 defense Groudon. So you can always guarantee, if you've got the rain up against Groudon and it's an end game situation, if Tsareena's in decent amount of health, like 50% health or more, then you're going to be able to pick up the knockout onto the Groudon, which is pretty big, and beat it one-on-one, which is nice, just knowing that you've got that in the back, setting that end position up. And that's what using these Pokemon for support options and then setting them into an end game where they can close the game down for you is all about. So utilizing like 2 levels of how a Pokemon can be used within the format. So that is the Figgy Berry set, and that ends up as sample sets for this episode. So let's just finish up with a counter options and summary of Tsareena. So Tsareena has a max speed raw stat of 136. So it's not the fastest Pokemon in the world, but if you're wanting to outspeed it and just slightly creep it, that's the number that you have to do, and you will always outspeed it. And unless it's got a Tailwind up or Trick Room or Icy Wind or anything like that. But just knowing that, it's quite a good bit of information if you want to go head to head with it and you need something to check it. Minimum speed, if it's minus nature and 0 speed IV, it can hit a raw speed stat of 69, so it can become quite slow. So in Trick Room, just be aware of that speed stat, especially if you're running a hard Trick Room team. Make sure that your Pokemon that you are running in that team that might be vulnerable to Tsareena but can potentially pick up a knockout or slower than that stat. And then a common speed stat you're going to see on Tsareena is that 92. It seems like the flat rate that everyone's kind of running at the minute. The common items you're going to see, I would probably put the Assault Vest above the Fightinium Z. I feel like it's a more common item, but the Fightinium Z gives you nice options, especially in a format where there aren't so many fighting stab attacks and things like that. So it's a nice option if you're looking for something on your team that needs a Z move, and Tsareena's there sitting with maybe an Assault Vest or a Berry, and you're thinking, where can I put my Z move? Well, here's a good example of where you can put a Z move. It might be quite useful. At least test it out. And then the third option that you're going to see predominantly is going to be one of those 50% berries, Figgy Berry, Iapapa Berry or Guava Berry, like we've mentioned before. We've listed the common attacks plenty of times through this guide. You can have Power Whip, Drop Kick, High Jump Kick, Feint, Knock Off, Helping Hand. Lots of options there on Tsareena, and it does get a lot more. I would suggest when you're looking at Tsareena yourselves, look through the move list options that it's got and see if there's anything in there that's really niche that can maybe support some Pokemon that'll throw your opponent off in battle, because that's what you're really looking for there. Common partners you're going to see with Tsareena are always going to be things like Xerneas, Kyogre and Incineroar. They just complement it very well. You've got the Fire Water Grass core there with the Tsareena, Kyogre and Incineroar. It's a very nice defensive core to put in any team. The Tsareena really benefits any sort of fake out, priority abuse that your opponent's throwing out at you, especially if you're running something like Scarf Kyogre, which we've already talked about. And again, for helping set that Xerneas up. If Xerneas is going to set up and there's a fake out user in front of it, switch Tsareena in. They can't fake you out and you get a free Geomancy, and then where do they go from there? So like lots of nice options there, but they're probably going to be the more common partners you're going to see with Tsareena. There's telltale signs as well, I think. Like I said earlier in the guide, if your opponent's running Tsareena and Kyogre, it's a good sign that the chances are that Kyogre is probably going to be Scarfed because it's taking advantage of the Queenly Majesty ability. Now, best format checks you're going to see for Tsareena are things like Groudon, Landorus, Incineroar, Gengar, Tornadus, and Rayquaza. We've mentioned most of them, but I'll just tag on a little bit about Rayquaza. Now, Rayquaza, because it can get rid of the weather, it will outspeed Tsareena, and it does generally carry that Z move in this particular format and can do a lot of damage and really cause a lot of disruption. You've got no real options to hit it for effective damage, so you've got to be quite careful about Rayquaza teams. Best format walls, always going to be things like Ho-Oh, Venusaur, Volcarona and Toxicroak. All things that Tsareena is going to really struggle to hit for good damage, and they will just eat it up all day long. So things you need to be very careful of going into the format. But it has a lot of good utility. For a non-restricted Pokemon, it has a real good niche, and players are picking up on it from the Sun series and carrying it into the Moon series, and it'll be really interesting to see if its utility is carried into the Ultra series. And personally, I think with that Queenly Majesty ability, it's just such a good ability. I can see it being used quite a lot in the Ultra series as well. But that ends up the guide for today, guys. So I really hope you've enjoyed the guide. It's been a really nice one to kind of cover. It's a bit shorter than normal, but just the options on Tsareena. We've got a lot. You could put the Grassium Z on there, but I think I picked the more optimal ones to give you guys a good example of how to get started and learn and understand a little bit with how Tsareena is being used in this format. So hope you've enjoyed it. we will be back for another guide very soon, but as always, do leave your likes, leave your comments, subscribe, do all that jazz. But I really appreciate you coming here, all the support that you give in the channel, and we'll be back with another guide soon. So until then guys, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and I'll see you next time. So until then, bye bye.